Hi, my name is Paul Roberson. I'm with Andrew Loviska and Genah Redding. If you'd like to learn more about our production, please listen to this conversation.
When did I fall in love with the theater? I guess it was when I was a kid. I used to do a lot of theater when I was younger, um, mostly musicals, but then I also used to, I read a lot. So I love reading plays and I love every aspect of the theater. So I guess I don't know. It's been such a part of my life for so long that I can't imagine it not being a part of my life.
I fell in love with theater and I knew I wanted to be like, have it in my life all the time. Was in college when I originally wanted I was studying film and I really wanted to be a filmmaker. And the head of the film department said that I should, take some theater classes just so I could like work with actors and stuff. And then I fell in with the acting program, and I actually met the director Genah in that program, and we've just been making theater ever since.
For me, it was also in college, actually. I had always kind of been side-eyeing theater in high school, but I did a bunch of like less traditional sports. I rode crew and did the pole vault on the track team and various things like that. So I never quite had time to get involved with the school productions. But then in college, I took a theater course, and it was a fairly ambitious course. We decided we were going to produce Angels in America at the end of the quarter, uh, and so that was my first experience on stage, was playing Joe Pitt in Angels in America, which in retrospect I was in a little bit over my head, but I just the feeling of being up there in front of an audience and telling stories, especially stories that powerful, was just really addictive. I mean, I often self-deprecatingly compare acting to I think it's more of a drug addiction than anything else, but I've stuck with it just because it's that important to me.
I think the thing that makes the theater experience so much more different and something that I prefer is because there is, with television, with film, most of the music that we get in, there's something in between us and the art. But with theater, there's nothing in between. There's no pane of glass, so you can give yourself over to theater much more easily. With theater, even though I'm a theater tech, you don't even really need a set to do a great theater piece. You can have blocks, and people will just give that to you, and yeah, that's it. You can have such magic on the day that's never going to be repeated, and every performance is different, and theater's just alive in a way that can't be replicated.
From an audience's perspective, I think when you're being told a story, it requires some kind of suspension of disbelief, in the sense that what is happening is not literally happening in somebody's real life right in front of you. But I think for theater, that bargain is a little bit different than it is in film and television, and I think it's a much more direct connection you're asking the audience to make, both to you and to the material. But because of that, you can do some things that are less literally believable, but more emotionally evocative in the theater than you could get away with on screen. And I find that really powerful. And also just the feeling of being in a room with a group of people, and you're all experiencing this story together. I think that's really powerful as well.
Yeah, I think what makes theater such a different experience than when you watch a movie or watch TV. It is that live experience. That it's happening right in front of you. Something could go wildly wrong. Something completely unexpected can happen, and that's what makes it so exciting. That's what makes it so different, because you watch a movie and this is something that has already happened, but you're actually in it when you're watching a play. When did I first hear about Fringe? I guess I guess it was probably about 10 years ago. When you're in various acting classes and writing classes and things like that, you meet people and a lot of people do Fringe. So, I had been an audience member for a while. Um, this year, it just ended up being because we had originally conceived this show for to just be done on Zoom. But then when everything started opening up, it felt like a really good opportunity to put our show into the Hollywood Fringe.
Yeah, I've been aware of Fringe for a number of years. I've attended a few shows here and there in the past. I've never been too intimately involved with it before this year. But yeah, as Genah said, we were sort of conceiving this show as an online experience, but then when Fringe this year came around and the timing seemed right and the opportunity to actually have a live performance component to the show seemed to really like make it even better than what we were planning. Just really seemed like the right opportunity, and it was exciting for me because I never really felt like I was. I don't know. I just never felt like I had the type of material that would be good for Fringe, or like, because I didn't write my own shows or like have really personal stories to tell, that, I wouldn't be able to do anything in Fringe. And it's really nice to realize that, you can, if you have something you want to present, you can find a way to do it in that format and in that venue. And, hopefully, fingers crossed, people will respond to it.
Yeah, I thought that this show does uniquely feel like, much like Andrew said, we really hadn't done anything before. At least I hadn't also done anything before that felt that it would bring something to Fringe. But yeah, we have a light show that I think is personal to everyone who's made it. And I think that's what Fringe is about, is bringing something very personal to people who want to see it.
Well, I believe they contacted us when we registered for Fringe, and when we went around to sort of shop for venues, as it were. The space they have it seemed really well suited to what we were doing, and it's sort of like the California room that we ended up going with. Just like I walked in there and I was like, oh yeah, this is the kind of space that I kind of envisioned in my mind for the show to take place in already. So that was kind of a light bulb moment, and also just the way they talked about the community they sort of have around Fringe, and how they try to support people with marketing and try to get people to see each other's shows and help each other out. It seemed very collaborative in a way that I think we all liked.
Yeah, I really responded to the non-traditional way that the spaces looked, because we weren't looking for something that was, a proscenium, like regular theater space. So I think that's what we all really took to with the space at Asylum.
Well, the title is Thom Pain. So it's been funny sort of trying to come up with the copy to use for the various websites and promotions and stuff, trying to figure out how to synopsize what happens in this piece, because it's a very interior piece in a lot of ways. The character is mostly sort of describing things that are going on inside himself rather than a sort of external plot. So figuring out how to sort of communicate and tease that to other people has been a bit of a challenge. The things I sort of latch onto are that he's feeling sort of isolated and kind of stuck in place in his life, and he's trying to work through that. And that's, for me, that's what really made it resonate with this particular moment in history, and what made me think that it would be a good thing to do now, is just because I feel like, I know that I have, and I'm sure a lot of other people have felt very similarly over the past year. And one of my great joys in doing theater and doing older scripts and repertory works is finding those places where somebody wrote 10 or 50 or 200 years ago really resonates with what's going on today.
Yeah, I think what I responded to this play because I think, anybody who struggles with making sense of the things that have happened to them, that's always really personal, depending on, it doesn't matter whether you specifically have something that happened to you that you relate to. And making sense of that and, trying to connect with people, even though it might feel hard. I think that was a really, that's what I connected to with the script. What do I want the audience to get out of this play? I guess them, I want people to feel connected, there's, I think, again, like I said, if the things that have happened to you, that's what makes you a person. We're all in this together, basically. That's kind of, that's what I want people to get out of it.
I think the thing I want people to get out of this is, is self-reflection. I think I think the play in itself is about, self-reflection about that, there's these things that happen in your life that do kind of feel unique to you, but are unique to you, but are also commonalities in everyone's lives. And I think questioning, and they feel very strongly, but maybe questioning what these events actually are, and how they have actually affected you.
To me, one of the most important, if not the most important theme of this piece is sort of learning to forgive yourself for mistakes you've made in the past, and learning to move on in a positive way without denying those mistakes, without pretending they didn't happen, but having the sort of compassion both for yourself and others to be able to continue living and continue improving despite them. And so that's mainly what I hope an audience would take away from it, is to understand that it's okay to have made mistakes, and it's okay to forgive yourself for them, and try to move forward.
I think people should come to see our show at the Hollywood Fringe Festival, because I think we've crafted a really great experience for people to have. I mean, first of all, to have the experience of going to a theatrical show again is something that, if you haven't done yet, you have to do again, because it's a core part of our lives. Anyone who loves theater that we've been without for a long time. But I think our show is something that I hope everyone gets to experience, and gets to, on some level, be changed by.
To add to that, I think, or at least I hope, we've sort of crafted an experience that feels sort of small and intimate and manageable for people who, haven't been to a lot of shows recently, we're not like throwing a lot of big spectacle in your face, but I think it is an experience that is really beneficial to have live if you can.
Yeah, I think people should come to this show because, it's been a tough year, and, we've all been kind of stuck at home, not being able to enjoy theater. There have been some things online, but there's nothing quite like just being, about less than 10 feet away from somebody who, and having that experience in real life.
The thing I'm looking most forward to seeing is actual other human faces, because the entire time we've been working on this show has basically been me sitting in my spare bedroom / studio, which is actually where I am right now, sort of trying to perform for a bank of cameras against the wall. And that's, with enough practice, that's something that I can do, but to really get that real feedback from somebody who's sitting in the same space listening, I think is going to add just a lot, a whole other dimension to the piece. And I don't know exactly what that's going to be, but I'm very excited to find out.
I think it's important to go to all of as many shows as you can, just to get the experience of the different varieties of shows. You know, there are going to be some that are a lot have a huge production value, like have a lot of things going on, have a ton of have big casts, and then there are other plays that are also solo pieces that are going to be more small and intimate. And I think having that wealth of choices is what makes Fringe so exciting.
Yeah, and I think another thing that makes an event like Fringe really different is that it brings together a group of productions that don't necessarily have a lot to do with each other, thematically or subject matter wise. It brings together a group of performers and directors and producers and technicians of vastly different backgrounds, telling all kinds of different stories. But I think the common thread among them is a sort of personal. Each one has a very personal vision and is personally important to the people who are making it. There's no corporate imperatives driving the storytelling or franchise extension or anything like that. It's just a group of people telling stories that they think are really important to tell, and I think it can be really beneficial to people to see as many of those as they can.
Yeah, I think people should go to Fringe, or if they've never gone to Fringe, go to Fringe for the first time, because it is kind of like a mini renaissance that's happening. It's more theater in a short period of time than the rest of the year, at least for most people. And yeah, you get to see this very current reflection of how people are expressing themselves through theater that you can't really get anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, if the last year has taught us anything, it's that while we can technically survive sort of all in isolation, it's not really living. It's certainly not
Right.
thriving. And if we let ourselves sort of stay isolated and stay atomized and stay on our couches watching things on our TVs, as legitimate as that can be many times, if we let the organizations that create events like Fringe, those events that bring us into community with each other, if we let that die out, then that's going to be to our detriment over a much longer period than just this past year of the pandemic. So we have to really intentionally, I think, work to preserve and rebuild those structures that help us do that.
Yeah, I think the Fringe Festival is important to local community, and why the community should support it is because the Fringe Festival is a reflection of the community. These are these artistic expressions that are happening, and it's happening from, not completely from people in this local area and in this community, but also the global theater community is coming in as well. And so yeah, we get to see this expression of ourselves from ourselves, essentially. That this production really started in quarantine and was designed to be originally performed, in quarantine in Andrew's apartment with me assisting, and so that people could get this kind of theatrical experience at home. We had a whole bunch of cameras in that room to replicate what it was like to be what it would be like to be in the audience, and we're going to try to preserve that with our Fringe run as well, so that people don't feel left out of this, of having that experience again.
Re-emphasize how excited I am to be able to present this sort of history of our minds over the last year, and actually be able to do it live, which none of us knew if we could do when we started working on it. So I really hope that other people find as much meaning in it as we have.
Yeah, and I'm also excited with having this hybrid element. There are people that we are all very close to that have moved out of state, that aren't local anymore, that will be able to still share this with them, and with anybody really. That is an exciting thing that we haven't, that's never really been done before. So that's really exciting for me.
If you enjoyed this conversation and would like to see Thom Pain, Based on Nothing, live at Hollywood Fringe or streaming on your television, please check out the hollywoodfringe.org website. Come to as many shows as you possibly can, and please, please, please support your local independent theater community.